Welcome back. It's week 9. We are actually going to be 75% of the way through the project once we finish this week. Thanks for your patience with my math skills last week. I'm Holly. This week we'll be working Gooseberry Stitch. It is a fun stitch and it has kind of a silly name because they don't really look like gooseberries, but I'm looking forward to it. The Gooseberry Stitch has so much texture. It is one of my favorite stitches to look at, but it is time consuming and it is a yarn eating stitch. It takes up so much yarn. So the yardage estimates that I provided at the beginning were just estimates. I did include what I used for each panel. This stitch definitely used the most, more than any other, which is going to be pretty impressive considering the actual amount of stitches that we're knitting here. This will be the first week we don't cast on 66, so we'll get to that in just a second, but I do want to give you a heads up. If you're using different yarn, different colors of yarn for each panel, please make sure you have enough for this one because it is going to be really frustrating to have to rip this back. Although I guess you could just change colors mid-panel if you wanted, but if that's not in your vision, for your particular project, please keep that in mind. You're going to need a lot of yarn for this one. I would call this a labor-intensive stitch. It's not incredibly hard, but you do need to learn the stitch and you do have to be able to keep track of where you are, and it's going to require some focus. Please don't leave the cal over the stitch. If you hate the stitch or any other stitch, you can always replace it with a panel that you love, a stitch that you love. Or a second panel that you enjoyed from before. This one, it's real weird. I guess vertically I'm getting the same gauge, but horizontally I'm not. It really, really, really stretches. And so you can really easily pull it out of shape. This is what the reverse side looks like, which I think is really interesting looking. But this is the first panel that I attempted. I actually kept it, with the justification that I can use it if I need more yarn. I can just pull it out. But it's huge. I can't even show you how big it is. This was 66 across, so this is why we're not doing 66 across. Instead, you're going to cast on 45 stitches to get a normal sized swatch, and that's what this one is. I do want you to take a second, look pretty closely at the stitches. I used a change in technique about halfway through. I don't think it's noticeable, and I'm going to share it with you. So just in case you have any concerns about, using that technique when you get about halfway through, hopefully this will allay those concerns so it's going to look the same. Oh, and look, I spilled something here. There's something pink there. Not a surprise. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. It was probably one of my kids. It probably wasn't me, but I don't eat or drink a lot of red stuff. I am working on a swatch as usual. This is just so I can show you guys this gooseberry stitch. It's an all over stitch, so you're just going to be working it over and over and over again. You can swatch along with me, and I actually do recommend that this week. Before you do the panel, please take a minute and do a swatch just so you get the feel for this stitch. It's worked in multiples of 2 plus 5, so you only have to cast on 7 stitches, which I've already done. And it's worked over 8 rows, so you can work those 8 rows, get an idea after 50 odd stitches if this is it, if you've got it or if you need some more practice before you're ripping off your cast on stitches. So 2 plus 5, 7 stitches. If you are working this for the panel, you'll cast on 45, and make sure you follow the instructions there because there are some other edges built in and things like that. This is just to show you how to work the plain stitch itself. And these instructions are always provided under the cal instructions in case you just absolutely love this stitch, you want to make a rug for your bathroom or whatever. I mean, you make what you want with it. That's just the vibe I'm getting. I always provide the blank, we'll call them blank instructions, so you can add this, this stitch to anything you're working on, a big nubbly sweater, whatever, and fit it to whatever you need to fit it to. So I'd say follow along with those bottom instructions first till you get a feel for this. weird stitch. Oh no, this weird stitch that I absolutely adore. If I hated it really, I wouldn't have left it in here, but it was definitely the stitch that tested my patience the most. Okay, let's get started before I scare you away. All right, row 1, this is the right side. Row 1, we're just gonna knit. So let's get started simple, right? Row 2, you're already gonna see some special instructions. All right, row 1's done. We're gonna turn this tiny little thing. It feels especially tiny on these needles. All right, we're gonna knit 1, and then all the way across the stitch, we're going to make 5, knit 1, make 5, knit 1, make 5, knit 1. This is the special stitch, the make 5. So for this stitch, what you're going to do is all in the same stitch, purl 1, don't take it off the needle, knit 1, don't take it off the needle, purl 1, don't take it off the needle, knit 1, don't take it off the needle, and purl 1 once more. Okay, so this kind of reminds me of bunches of grapes and how we made the grape bunches there. But the thing is here, we're gonna keep going. So knit 1, M5, make 5. So we've done that, knit 1, and we're gonna do our next M5. So we're gonna purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, that's 5, into the same stitch. And then again, we're gonna knit 1. And next we're gonna purl, knit, purl, knit, purl into the same stitch, and knit 1 to finish our row. What is great about this is we're essentially just doing knit 1, purl 1 all the way across, because we're doing the knit 1 and then the make 5. So it's knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. But one thing you may have already noticed is we have a lot more stitches than we had last time. So just for the swatch, we have 5, 10, 15, 19 stitches when we started with 7. So that's a huge amount, right? We're really increasing our stitches. Imagine if you have 45 and every other stitch you're increasing by 4. You're gonna have a huge amount of stitches on your needles. So those of you who thought I was silly for recommending cabled needles, this is definitely a week that you're gonna need it, because look at those stitches. All right, for row 3, we're gonna purl them all. And as I was working this, I was thinking to myself, I wonder what would this look like if these were knit instead? And I'm gonna actually bring it back. The pearls, when you're working them, are creating this little row right here, which is kind of what makes them, it's called gooseberries, right? But they really look like blackberries, or I guess any wild berry from that family, raspberries, blackberries, I think marionberries, and I think those are all just blackberries too, different types of blackberries. But I was wondering if we knit those instead, it would be more like a gooseberry, right? It would be smooth. So I might try that with another stitch just to see how it turns out. It might not have the same texture or the same overall support. It might deflate a little bit if it were knit. So we're gonna finish purling this row, which is row 3. It's taken a little longer because we have a lot more stitches. All right, 3 to go. Okay, so the stitches are they tripled? They're not quite quadrupled, they're probably tripled. Okay, and so you can kind of see A little berry here and here and here. Starting to pop a little. So that's row 3. Row 4. The instructions in this original stitch pattern, I'm going to show you those, and then I'm going to show you what I end up doing as I worked it that I thought was faster. You can kind of decide, and this is where you can tell me if you can see a difference. Start with a knit 1. And now we're going to bring these berries, you know, start to cinch them a little bit and reduce the stitches. With the yarn in front, we're going to slip 2. Purl 3 together, and then pass those 2 slip stitches over. Oh Lord, I've lost them. There we go. Poor demonstration. Actually, it might be what you're dealing with. So, okay, there you go. Then we're gonna knit 1 again, and we can kind of see that that's lined up here. So we know where we're supposed to be. It's not part of this berry. And as you work the stitches, the rows of the stitch over and over, you'll get a good sense of, uh-oh, I'm starting to knit them straight in a row. I need to move down 1 or whatever it is. So just check that you're in the right spot. Okay, we've knit 1. And again, the pattern instructions are, I'm gonna slip 2. Actually, let me slip them this way since we're going to be purling them. I'm going to slip them that way. And then purl 3 together. And then pass the slip stitches over. Now, if you're having trouble passing 2 over at once, you can pass them 1 at a time. It's going to get the same effect. Let me show you how I ended up doing it for the majority of the stitches that I did, because I felt like it was easier and faster. Knit 1, just like you did, and instead of slip 2 with yarn in front, purl 3 together, pass the 2 slip stitches over, what I did was a purl 5. It's a lot of stitches, right? It's tight and it's awkward, but it is the same in terms of form. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't have tried this at the end of the row. In terms of form, it is the same as the instructions provided for slipping and blah, 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 blah. So if you can actually get it to work, maybe I should try it in the middle of the row instead. There we go. Whoop. Okay. So let me knit that last stitch. Whoosh. Okay. So here's what the 3 look like. I'm going to come in close so that you have a good look at each one of them. But if you slip 2 and then purl 3 together and then slip those 2 over, you're doing the same thing as purling 5 together. So you should not be able to tell a difference in these stitches, since functionally they are the same. I did not find it really easy to do on the first row, especially on the end. So maybe try it in the center the first time you try it, just to not overly frustrate yourself. And of course, if that shortcut is not a shortcut for you, don't use it. Use what works best for you. And I'm going to show you one more time. Here's my panel. It was done. It's at the top. Is it the top? I think maybe. I think this is the right side. I think it's not upside down. About half of this was done each way, just so I could see if I could see a difference. And I cannot. So hopefully that helps somebody out. That's the end of row 4. 5 to 8, they're worked exactly the same way in terms of what stitches we're going to use, but they're shuffled over 1. And that's what's going to give us the diagonal. So we know our next clusters are going to be in between these clusters. So row 5, we're going to knit them all. Oops. Did you see that? Okay. Look at those guys. 3 little happy bunches. We're going to turn. This is row 6. for this row, we're gonna knit 2. Remember, if you're working that panel, you've got edge stitches, yours is gonna be a little different. We're gonna make 5, so that's purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, all into the same stitch. And I do hold on to it with my fingers so it doesn't slip off toward the end. Done. Knit 1. Purl, knit, purl, knit, purl into this one, which is our M5. Oh, there you go. Okay, there are the 5 that we made. Knit 1, and our final stitch is a knit 1 for the swatch. So that's the wrong side of row 6. Row 7. Oh, look, they're so ugly. I'll have to tuck that in. Okay, row 7, purl it all. This is what's creating our little row of bumps right there. So if any of you actually try this row as a knit row, I'd like to see what the results are. It might actually be cute to alternate, you know, like a row of what looks like bumpy berries and a row of smooth berries, or every other berry. I don't know. I don't know what sort of work, what sort of task you feel up to taking on for yourself, but I'd be interested to see if anybody plays with this stitch, what the results are. Row 7 is complete. Row 8 starts with knit 2 for the swatch. I'm going to slip 2 with the yarn in front. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and purl 5 for these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wiggle it on in there. There's plenty of room. And then move it slowly. Did I do what I think I did? No, I didn't. I was afraid I split that. Knit 1. And like I said before, you can see, here's the little bobble we made last time. And here's the 1 stitch above it. That's where we want to be. Knit 1, because we're trying to have them offset. So our next bobble is going to be above a stitch instead of above a bobble. And then we're going to, ooh, whoa, hold on. Then we're going to do our purl 5 together one more time. And I really just, you know, wiggle it until it's up in there. And then so gently, whew, right? It is a slow process, but it still seems faster than the other. And then once you finish that, either your purl 5 together or your slip 2 with yarn in front, purl 3 together, pass the 2 slip stitches over, knit 1, you do that to the end, and there's 1 more knit stitch at the end if you're working the swatch. So final swatch results. This is it. And this stitch right here that got jacked up a little bit is one that I did the traditional way, so don't blame my purl 5 on that. All right, so if you are working the panel, you're actually going to be working much longer rows. They're going to take a long time, but you're going to work these 8 rows, 12 times total, and that'll be 96, and you'll have 1 row before you bind off. And that's all knit, that final row. As always, I have the written instructions for these below. For the swatch, which I recommend for everyone, use the second set of instructions, which are the generic instructions, and cast on 7 like I did today. For the panel, I would set aside some extra time this week, both to master the stitch and also to work up to the number of stitches that we're going to have once you have made all those 1s into 4s and back down again. If you have any questions, I am in the Facebook group regularly. I'm happy to answer them there. If you purchased a pattern and you need support, definitely message me on Etsy so I can find you and your purchase. And just generally, if you have any questions, you can always email me or leave a comment either on YouTube or on the blog. I want everybody to get through this stitch, even if it takes a little longer, because I really think it's a beautiful addition to the blanket. It's just a little more time consuming. This is a workhorse week. Okay, as always, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. That really helps our channel out and helps other knitters find us. I'll see you all next week for week 10. Bye.